Thank you for staying with us. We're looking at the papers right now, and we're starting with The Nation. And major headline in The Nation is Mba joining APC, not out of fear, but for prosperity. Okay. They say carnival-like reception for Enugu governor, elected appointed officials into ruling party. IMF raises Nigeria's growth to 3.9%. Existing revenue formula outdated, says Ramfac chairman. PDP chairman, legal advisor clash in court. Credit in math not mandatory for arts in new admission policy. Interesting. Governor Oyebanji is APC's consensus candidate in Ekiti. Senate Electoral Act Amendment Bill for passage by December. Who would like to go first?
Not mandatory. So a review of admission policy into tertiary institutions, which will liberalize it to accommodate more qualified candidates, have been undertaken by the federal government. The review was made known yesterday by the Federal Ministry of Education spokesperson, Folashade Boriowo, who intended to provide opportunities for additional 300,000 candidates to gain admission yearly. In the current dispensation, they said no more than 700,000 of about 2 million candidates that applied for admissions are able to make it. Now, in the new plan, mathematics will no longer be a compulsory subject for students seeking admission into the tertiary institutions to study arts and humanities-related courses. The statement said that the revised national guidelines for entry requirements into Nigerian tertiary institutions aim to eliminate unnecessary barriers while maintaining academic standards. Under the new framework, students seeking admission into arts and humanities programs will only be required to present credits in relevant subjects, including English language, while mathematics will remain compulsory for science, technology, and social science disciplines. Now, for the polytechnics, the levels, they said candidates must obtain a minimum of 4 credit passes, including English language for non-science courses and mathematics for science-based programs. Mathematics and English remain compulsory for candidates at the higher national diploma level. So there's a lot of details here, and I'm sure we're going to be taking the story later today.
Yeah, we'll be taking that in our hot topic.
Let me take the Senate Majority Leader, who is also, I think, he's also the Vice Chair of the Committee on Constitutional Review, Senator Bamidele Okpeyemi. He was talking about moving the Electoral Act 2022 and concluding it before December so that they will, of course, get it to the President. He reminded us about the failure, the inability, not failure, of the late President Buhari to sign it because they moved that act to him in 2022 just as he was, handing over. And so he couldn't sign some of the correction of certain identified lapses in the Electoral Act. But he said they will do better now. They'll get it to the President before the end of 2025 December, and, so that all of that will be done, dusted, preparing for the 2027 elections. And so, but what he didn't state, I kept reading the story over and over again in case I missed it, is whether it's the same Electoral Act amendment we're talking about of, having our elections done and dusted by November 2026, so that the handing over and everything would tally. All the appeals and electoral tribunals will be done and concluded before May 29 handing over. But the ADC, the African Democratic Congress, they have answered. They said that proposing to do general elections in November would undermine governance in the country. They said it would mean that there will be a perpetual campaign cycle. Everybody will be focused on campaign, and this will be detrimental to governance and development. And so they are against the proposal to have our elections done by November, and so they don't start, really.
So I have the IMF gist. They say IMF raises Nigerians' growth to 3.9%. They said the IMF has revised upward its Nigeria's growth forecast to 3.9% in 2025 and 4.1% in 2026, citing improvements in the country's macroeconomic outlook. They also said that this was said at the multinational institution, World Economic Outlook. They had an annual meeting in Washington, D.C., U.S., United States. They said Nigeria's upgrade was significant as many other economies saw significant downward revisions because of the changing international trade and official aid landscape. They said the global economy growth is projected to decline from 3.3% in 2024 to 3.2% in 2025 and 3.1% in 2026. They said the IMF Economic Counselor, that's Pierre Olivier, said the fund based its outlook for Nigeria on several improving macroeconomic indicators and supportive domestic factors. Some of them includes higher oil production, and they also said improved investor confidence and the supportive fiscal stance in 2026 and giving its limited exposure to higher US tariffs. They also said that the Cardoso, who spoke during the Intergovernmental Group of 2024 G24 press briefing, he said the Naira has emerged as a competitive currency while the economy has been witnessing positive trade balances. According to him, another major pointer to the resilience of the economy is the fact that large businesses are moving from imports to exports of locally produced goods and commodities. He also pointed out that although global growth has been slow, but not as behind as would have been expected to be. So this is a good one.
All right, let's go on to The Guardian. Major headline in The Guardian: APC consolidates power as Mba ends PDP's 26-year reign in Enugu. PDP postpones NEC meeting indefinitely. How ASU's actions allegedly sabotage federal government's truce efforts. Federal government approves new admission reforms, raises tertiary intake to 1 million yearly. IMF Cardoso isolate Nigeria from global uncertainty, raise growth prospect. Tinubu to ECOWAS, declares stolen mineral resources an international crime. Senate seeks repatriation of Nigerian women, children held in Libyan prison. 70% of women on death row in Nigeria are mothers, study reveals. Interesting. Power plant operating below 40% capacity as grid voltage exceeds limits.
Do we have time for
let's take one.
Okay, so Nigeria's grid connected power plants continue to operate below their installed capacities in September, with just 5,200 megawatts of electricity available out of a total of 13,625 megawatts installed, representing a plant availability factor, that's a PAF, of 38%, according to the latest operational performance fact sheet released by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that's NEC. The report, however, painted a picture of persistent imbalance in the country's generation mix, where a limited number of plants continue to shoulder most of the grid's energy supply, despite marginal improvements in overall capacity. Now, next, that data showed a 6% month-on-month increase in available generation compared to August, yet the system remained largely constrained by low plant availability and uneven operational performance across the generation fleet. According to the fact sheet as well, average hourly generation during the month stood at 4,091 megawatts per hour, indicating 78% utilization of the available capacity. So the English, all the English is the fact that we are not generating as we should. We're generating below capacity. I was waiting to see in the report what can be done to increase our generation, but there was no time for that. That wasn't given here. So you just mentioned most of the states that have many of these issues, and we already know them. So.
Okay, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll conclude with the papers. Thank you for staying with us. We're still reviewing the papers. Nima?
Yes, I have the 70% of women on death row in Nigeria are mothers, study by the Hope Behind Bars Africa in collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission and submitted by the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty and French Development Agency. So this is a subtle indictment to the Council of States on how they arrived at the candidates for the pardon. But this study shows that women are facing a very deep-rooted gender discrimination even within our prisons. They said 47% of female death row inmates are between the ages of 18 and 35. More than one-third had no formal education and only 10% completed tertiary education. 70% of the women are mothers. Many of them left behind children in unstable, fragmented care arrangements, showing, you know, the deep problem that we have. And most of the women previously worked in informal, low-income sectors such as trading and farming, highlighting this huge link between economic vulnerability and their entry into the criminal justice system. And this study, for me, shows a subtle You know, there was an indictment when the initial pardon list was released by to President Buhari then, and he signed, and it was later revealed through the news that some people were paid as members of the Council of State. So this, to me, they should sit up. We are going to be auditing putting torchlight on their bombs. You know, study that more than 1/3 of the women had experienced gender-based violence, including domestic abuse, child marriage, and coercion by partners that, you know, led to this imprisonment that they are going through, the sentences that they had. 75% of the women were unaware of the laws under which they were charged. 85% believed the laws were unfair to women, and over half considered their trials to be non-transparent. A lot of, you know, instances where justice could have been served in reaching a pardon list. But,
and then, you know,
we see 7 people,
which is very closely, you know, similar to the story here, where the Senate has urged the federal government to commence urgent diplomatic and humanitarian efforts to repatriate Nigerian women and their children currently languishing in Libyan prisons. So this resolution followed a motion that was sponsored by Senator Bassi of Cross River South on the urgent need to protect Nigerians from trafficking, slavery, and human rights abuses in Libya. We also had Senator Natasha Akoti-Duaha representing Kogi Central District, and she had asked that, you know, she moved an additional prayer calling on the Nigerian Immigration Service and Nigerian Correctional Service to liaise with their Libyan counterparts to facilitate the repatriation of Nigerian female inmates and their children born in detention. So there's a lot of work they have to do while here, as well as, you know, what she's asking abroad. But, you know, the story here, according to Senator Natasha, is that many of the women were victims of human trafficking, and then they escaped, but were, you know, they were forced into prostitution, they escaped, and then they were rearrested, and then they've been incarcerated, where they are now sexually assaulted by prison officials, and then they are giving birth to children who are in prison, born into prison, suffering even more for what they did not know anything about. And so she was saying, like, you know, this is a serious problem, and we should try and hurriedly collaborate with Libyan officials to see how these women and their children can be repatriated.
Do you have a prisoners exchange treaty with Libya? I'm wondering if it's a strictly NAPTIP affair or it's a foreign affairs matter.
All hands on deck as far as I'm concerned when it comes to this. Yeah, so Daily Sun, major headline, PDP leaders fight in court over convention. Reps wade into federal government ASU dispute. Halt dirty money influx, IMF wants Nigeria. Others, electoral reform. ADC rejects proposal to hold elections in November 2026. Federal government issues new tertiary institution admission guidelines. Mba, my movement to APC to align Enugu's vision of transformation with Tinubu's national reform. Who would like to go first? Yeah.
Okay, I already took my ADC story.
Yeah, so I have ASU
and federal government.
Yeah,
okay.
So the House of Representatives has raised concerns over the ongoing 2-week warning strike declared by Academic Staff Union of Universities, that's ASU, describing it as a potential threat to Nigeria's higher education stability and national development. This followed a motion of urgent national importance sponsored by Sesi Oluwaseun Wigan at plenary yesterday. The lawmaker called for immediate legislative intervention to prevent the situation from escalating into another prolonged academic shutdown. He noted that the strike stemmed from unresolved issues between ASU and the federal government regarding the implementation of prior agreements, including revitalization funding for universities and academic allowances, salary structure, and institutional autonomy. He expressed concern that though the current action was described as a warning strike, similar industrial actions in the past had often degenerated into full-blown crisis that disrupted academic calendars, frustrated students, and stalled research and innovation in the schools. So the Nigerian university system remains central to our national development, according to him, innovation and human capital growth. Any disruption in its operation weakens our economic competitiveness and scientific advancement and youth productivity, according to him. So he went ahead to cite Section 18 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, and he emphasized that education was a constitutional responsibility and a driver of social technological process, adding that both government and university unions must ensure its continuity and equality. So there's a committee on legislative compliance that has been directed to monitor and report the progress of the mediation efforts to the House within 1 week. So let's see how that goes.
Okay, so I have the gist from IMF. They say halt dirty money influx. They said the IMF has warned Nigeria and other emerging economies to step up efforts to curb the inflow of dirty money, saying that they pose serious risk to financial stability, public trust, governance, and the country's global reputation. He also said that, stressed that robust governance system and effective anti-money laundering frameworks are now indispensable for sustaining growth and attracting investment, particularly in nations battling high public debt and widespread financial leakages. She has also urged the government to look into it and make sure that all of this can be curbed. She also explained that the IMF now integrates anti-money laundering and governance diagnostic into its article reviews and lending programs, enabling countries to identify and correct institutional weaknesses before they escalate into crisis. She also said that she also revealed that the fund has introduced a new anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism strategy, which will be applied more broadly across member nations to trace illicit flows, strengthen financial oversight, and reinforce debt transparency. So she's just making sure that we should all know that they are putting a lot of things in place to.
Okay, let's look at the Vanguard. Illegal financial outflows worsening Nigeria's revenue problem, IMF. Ramotu just took that. Madagascar's president flees as court declares seat vacant. Okpebolo to commissioners, always wear Tinubu's cap during ESCO meetings. ASU reps move to avert breakdown in varsity system. NLC draws battle line with federal government over education crisis. FIFA 2026, South Africa celebrates as Osimhen sends Nigeria to playoff. Why I dumped PDP for APC and Bav taken that. Okay, not yet. Math no longer compulsory for arts candidates, says federal government, and we've taken that as well. Defections, we want Nigerians of APC one-party game plan, says Wabara. Dangote Refinery deploys CNG trucks to distribute petrol at 850 naira per litre in response to yesterday's news.
But it doesn't mean that they will not set us at 850.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but that's good news. I have Edo, and I'm so proud of my governor.
Which of them now?
Yes, Governor Pewolo of Edo State. He appointed, swore into office 19 commissioners yesterday, and in attendance, of course, was his deputy, as well as the Minister for Justice, Minister of the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Minister of Justice in Nigeria, Lateef Fagbemi, who was present physically. And I'm taking this from the Tribune's angle because the Vanguard was funny. Okay. The governor, yes, the governor emphasized that these appointments were not, they were based on merit, and they were not just rewards for maybe any political role any of these appointees made. He said their nomination did not come as a reward or their patronage. It is a call to serve the people of Edo State. He said the focus of his administration is on service delivery and tangible results for Edo State, and they are not here for propaganda. They are commissioners who must deliver. He said that, and it is not a money-making venture for them, that this is for service and sacrifice and for a better life for the people of Edo State. And his administration has zero tolerance for corruption, in case any of these commissioners is having white dreams. And he so charged them to see their new positions as an opportunity to contribute. But they, because he's a very loyal governor.
Because I would say, they say always wear.
Yes, he told them, he said, if they are wearing any native attire, they are not wearing any suits, he says that they should come to the ESCO meetings in their Shiwaju cap, emphasizing that he couldn't have gotten into office without the president's support. And he's a loyalist, and I don't fault him. This time around, I'm agreeing with him on this one. Yes, if he wants his ESCO members to don the cap, I think it's fine, because he has said it. What if the president didn't work for him? We've had people who, during the former president's administration, who did not have his full support during their state government elections. So if this one and he's loyal, he wants to be grateful. So there's nothing wrong with the virtue of gratitude, which I support. So He has asked them that if you are wearing native, come
Please
here.
wear their
And
cap.
he added, if you did not wear the cap, we will send you, you will go back
You
home.
go back. Can you
and
imagine?
change.
We've run out of time. I really wanted to take Madagascar president who's fled, as he's been reported to have fled the country as a result of the crisis going on in the country.
Yeah.
So that's all we can take on the papers this morning. We're going on a short break. When we come back, we'll look at our hot topics. Stay with us.
Stay tuned